Good afternoon. Thank you all for attending today's media avail. As you're all aware by now, having seen the EPS news release, a brazen shooting incident occurred early Saturday evening in the West Edmonton neighborhood of Ormsby Place near Collingwood. At approximately 6:45 p.m., Saturday, June 24, 2023, West Branch patrol officers responded to the area of Ormsby Crescent after several 911 calls were received of gunshots being heard in the area. It was reported to police that an adult male complainant was out for an early evening walk with his young family and a red Nissan Rogue pulled up behind them on Ormsby Crescent. Two masked suspects ran from the vehicle and began chasing the complainant while firing multiple gunshots at him. The two suspects then chased the male southeast to the green space located between Ormsby Crescent and Ormsby Road East Northwest while continuing to fire shots at him. The two suspects and a third suspect driving the Nissan Rogue then fled the area shortly thereafter. Thankfully, neither the complainant nor his family, who ran from the area on foot to safety, or other residents were struck by the gunfire. To be clear, the male complainant is known to police, and this was a targeted offense. Our investigation is at a sensitive stage right now, so I'm not going to get into what may have led to this shooting. However, what I do want to further convey is how absolutely irresponsible this act was, electing to shoot up a neighborhood filled with families in broad daylight. We could easily be talking about life-threatening injuries or homicides here today if other children or families were out riding bikes or playing on the street, or someone was outside mowing the grass, etc., when this event took place. We're hoping that with the release of this video and still images of the suspects and the suspect vehicle today, someone in the public will help us to identify the suspects or the vehicle. This is vital to helping us expedite and advance our investigation and bring these individuals to justice. At this time, we're going to play the video for you here. So obviously very concerning. We're very fortunate that none of those kids were struck. No other families were struck. The individuals coming out of that SUV had a total disregard for anybody in that neighborhood and the family members with that complainant. So I'll take any questions now.
You said the man who was targeted is known to police. Is the family cooperating?
I can say right now that we have spoken to the complainant. I'm not going to get into the identity of that individual, but currently right now we're not getting much cooperation from that individual.
And is there any indication on the types of firearms used in the shooting?
Right now we can't release that because of the ongoing investigation. We're working through that, but that's definitely something we're looking at. It's going to help us in this investigation.
So, brazen to be sure, quiet neighborhood, we talk to the neighbors. How rare is it for people to be targeted when they're with their family members?
I've been involved in organized crime work for about 12 years, doing gang and drug types of investigations. What we're seeing more, and I've seen more in my line of work now, where I sit in the organized crime branch, we're seeing more of these types of reckless, careless type shooting events. They're happening more in broad daylight hours, in residential areas where there's family, potential for kids to be playing. There used to be a little bit of a respect level amongst these groups, but clearly by this and what we've seen historically in some other events, it seems to be gone out the window, which is concerning for us. And I think if you talk to people associated to this individual or our suspects, I think watching this, they'll have a concern about this too. So the message with this video is obviously we want any witness information, other video in the area. It's a large neighborhood, but we also want to showcase to not only the public for transparency, but also to these groups and other groups when they decide to come out and do reckless behavior like this is the potential consequences that could happen.
Was there any injuries at all?
Would you please use the mic if you can? Or can I bring it to you?
No.
Thank you.
Was there any injuries at all? At all? Like, was anybody hit or?
Not that we know of, there was no injuries, surprisingly.
Is this tied into any other recent events in the city that you know of?
Not that's recent, but I can tell you, just as of today, that we've been able to link the firearm used in this investigation to a shooting investigation that occurred earlier in the year. That investigation is also ongoing and being investigated, but we've been able to link that through our firearms examination unit and our IBIS instrument, which we spoke about before. So we can say that a firearm, the same firearm has been used in 2 events, but nothing further beyond this event that we can link it to.
So doesn't sound like you want to tell us about that event. Was someone injured or killed in that event?
Nobody was injured, I can tell you.
Okay.
But it is ongoing, so can't
Okay.
provide much details.
And the victim or the target, you said from the neighborhood? Lives in the neighborhood?
No, we're not providing any information of where the individual lives, obviously for safety reasons to the family and anybody associated to, but originally from Edmonton.
You mentioned this firearm was linked to another one. We have this shocking incident. What would you want to say to the people who live in the neighborhood who are obviously freaked out by this and in the city as a broader whole?
Well, I'll say to people who live in the neighborhood, to my knowledge, we haven't had a rash of shooting events in that Ormsby neighborhood. It is very sporadic throughout the city when we do have these events. You'll know historically, we did release some other incidents that happened on the south side of it. It's all over the city, right? At the south side of Edmonton, and people driving cars, on the Henday and et cetera. But, we can't say that these events are happening in specific areas in the city. This event happened in, obviously, Ormsby on this event, but, we're not here to scare the public. I want to make that clear. We're here to hopefully have people come forward to provide information on this event. As you know, it's challenging when we have somebody who is targeted and shot at but not cooperating with the police. We rely on other information, and we're hoping this can help us with that.
Please identify your news outlet too when speaking. Thank you.
David Owasik with CTV News Edmonton. 2 guns in this?
We believe there's 2 shooters by the video, yes.
And one of them, jammed, or do you know, it's speculative, or?
Well, if I'm speculating, but if I watch that video, it looks like we're very fortunate that the first shooter that came out of that vehicle didn't get the first round off.
But both guns you believe were used?
Believe they were both used.
Okay, thanks.
Bianca Millian, City News. You mentioned a couple times that these groups used to have respect for each other. These groups, do you believe this is gang related?
I don't believe it's specifically gang related. We have a unique landscape here in Edmonton where we don't have a lot of gangs targeting gangs. We have individuals involved in some sort of criminality, drugs, it could be all kinds of things. We have old historical conflicts that come up, not necessarily always in Edmonton. And again, as this is early on in this investigation, we're still learning what potentially could have brought these 2 groups together that day. But I don't believe this is a gang event.
Thank you.
Paul with Global. How lucky are you that this guy's surveillance was actually rolling continually, and where would that have put you if you didn't have this video?
Well, we rely on the public to help us with these investigations. There's no secret that video surveillance, businesses, residential, vehicles, they assist incredibly on a lot of these investigations. So we rely on video surveillance on a lot of investigations to assist, especially when we don't have cooperation.
Anna Junker with the Edmonton Journal. I guess on that thread, this was a daylight shooting. The street appears busy, behind them, lots of cars parked. Are you surprised, concerned maybe that you don't have more leads on this?
No, not yet. Again, this happened on Saturday. Since then, our firearms investigation unit has taken over the investigation. They specialized in firearms investigation, shootings, trafficking, things like that. So they are just looking through all the canvassing that our patrol members did, and then we go back and we look at tasks we got to follow through with. But sometimes people are away. Sometimes people haven't looked at their video. They don't think it's going to be helpful because it's not in the area of, but you never know what video is going to capture. So not surprised. We'll get more information as we move forward that we'll be able to use and work on this.
And you said no injuries. Was there any property damage from the gunshots?
Not that we can see yet, but this is another reason that we're doing this is there's a lot of residences that back onto that green space where the suspect and the complainant ran. And you heard there's about 5 gunshots that take place there. So we're asking the public to take a look at their houses, especially in the back, that come onto the Ormsby green space to see if they can find any damage out there. Because sometimes it's very hard to see it.